Okay, so today also we are going to discuss about headers. One header left for us. Last day we have already discussed about that TCP header, UDP header and IP header. So today only one header is left, that one is Ethernet header. Today also the same thing I am going to do. I will search for a header image from internet. No, this one will not be perfect. Yeah, this one will be perfect for you. Okay. So here on the screen you can see one header is there. This is the proper Ethernet header which is actually working in layer 2. So as you know, we are having so many protocols, like for layer 7 protocols also so many headers will be there, like for HTTP, DNS, like those services also. For all protocols the header will be separate, but here we are not going to discuss about all the headers. The main protocol we are going to use in OSI, those are TCP, UDP in transport layer. Those headers we discussed yesterday. Then in internet layer or network layer we are having IP, that internet protocol, that header also we discussed about that one. And today in data link layer we are having another protocol, that name is Ethernet protocol. We are going to discuss about that protocol header. So these are the most important protocols which are working in OSI. If you are understanding them in the encapsulation and decapsulation process, then you can easily understand the data flow of device, how my device is going to send the data, and in case if you are going to do troubleshoot also, you have to keep in mind these things. Okay, so here also you can see I am having total 7 fields in Ethernet header. Okay, so this is field number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We will discuss about all the fields. So from this 7 fields, this field is not about Ethernet header. This is data field, means what kind of data come from the internet layer or network layer, that will be encapsulated here. So this is the Ethernet header. From this to this one, this is the Ethernet header, and after that this one is the trailer, you can understand. Okay, so if you are talking about the original Ethernet header, only header if you are talking, then the header will be this much from preamble to length. After that the data will be encapsulated. After that one trailer will be there, that will only that you know, last class we discussed about some checksum, that kind of information will be attached in trailer. So if we are going to discuss about the total Ethernet header, then the size will be this 7 byte, 1 byte, 8 byte. Then here destination and source MAC address will be there, 12 byte, 20 and 22 byte. Okay, so the Ethernet header size will be 22 byte. If you are going to discuss about the header size including the trailer, then the size will be 22 plus 4 bytes. It will be 26 bytes. How it is? Just you can see the total header size is 22 bytes from preamble to length. Then after that, if I am going to discuss about this field also, this is having 4 byte of size. So total size will be 26 byte. But exactly if you are only talking about the header, then the header size will be 22 byte. And the size of data, it will depend which kind of data you have generated. And after attaching all the TCP headers, IP headers and all the upper layer headers, the size of the data it will define, like what will be the size of your data. So whenever at layer 2 in the data link layer, Ethernet is going to encapsulate the data with some information, some layer 2 information, layer 2 related informations. So he will attach this header, and all the field of this header are important to understand what actually Ethernet is going to do. So we are having the first field, that first field is preamble. So if we are going to discuss about preamble, then preamble is nothing what Ethernet going to attach here. It will be just some kind of information like 10, 10, 10 like that. So total 7 byte of informations. 7 byte of informations means 7 into 8 bits. So it will be 56 bits total. So total 56 bits, it will be all 101010 like this. It will be, there will be nothing what Ethernet going to change or what kind of information you are going to change. All the information will be in 1 and 0, 10 10 10 sequentially one by one like that. Total 56 bit you have to see. So what is the use of this 10 10 10 10 bit? See, if I am going to tell about the communication, if my device is going to receive any kind of data now, it means not like what you are. For example, if I am telling now, so this is a device and this device is connected to a network and this is another device. This A device trying to communicate with B device and sending some messages or data kind of things. That means not that B is only receiving what A is sending. By default also some kind of signals my device can receive. How? See, what is happening when A is going to send some kind of that data or messages to any device, to B or something. Here in in physical layer, what A is doing? A is generating the data into bits, and when the data is going to send towards the Ethernet link or something, towards that through that transmission media, that bits are going to convert into electrical signal. If it's a fiber link, then it will be a light signal. If it's a wireless communication, then it will be a RF signal. So what is actually going to happen right now? So this is a electronic signal which is passing through your Ethernet cable. Here is also it is a Ethernet communication. So what A is going to send the data, that data also going like a electrical signal and also going towards B, and also when B is receiving some kind of data, he is receiving an electrical signal. So if there is any kind of some other devices you are connecting or other devices there who is also generating some electric data generation means if I am going to turn on a electric switch also, that is also generating some electric kind of data. And in that case also some kind of data will come and my device will convert that one also into 10 that 1 or 0 format, like bits format. It can also convert. So what will happen? So multiple signals my device is receiving, but from all the signal it is not mandatory that all the signals are data signals. Okay, so if my device is receiving five electrical signals, that means not that all the 5 signals are data signals only. Some other things might be happen due to that my device is receiving some kind of signals. So in that case, how my device can understand like this is only a data packet and other things are not data packets, so I have to ignore them. How my device can understand? So for that reason only, to make my device understand about that things, one preamble kind of things defined in this one. In Ethernet header, they defined one field that known as preamble field. What preamble will do? Before the data packet or before the Ethernet header and data packet layer 2 frame, at the starting of the layer 2 frame, what it will do? It will attach some information like 10 10 10 10 10. So what will happen? When this device, B device is going to receive any packet or any data. So first of all, whenever converting to bit, if it's finding first 56 bit as 10 10 10 10 10, then it will understand this is a data packet. This is not any other packet, this is only a data packet. So it can accept that one by thinking that it's a data packet. Other signals if coming now, they will be like 10 11 10, might be all 0 all 1 like that, anything can be happen. But if it's a data packet, because in encapsulation process, if it's a data packet, then it have to pass through that data link layer, and if it's passing through that data link layer, then my Ethernet is going to attach the Ethernet header. When attaching the Ethernet header, it is going to attach the preamble field also. In that preamble field, all will be sequentially 10 10 10, total 56 10 10 10, you will get 56 bit like that. So from that, my device can now understand this is a original data packet. So this is the work of preamble field, just to identify it's a original data packet. Then the next field, we are getting 1 byte of information or 8 bit. This is a start frame delimiter, or you can tell SFD. So what is the work of SFD right now? See, whenever my device is going to send or receive any data, the Ethernet header, all that till length or everything you are going to mention here, all will be in bits only. So first 7 byte or 56 bit information my device is getting. These informations are what information? 10 10, that means it's starting as a data frame. Okay. So now how my device can understand from where my Ethernet header is starting, or from where my data things are starting, all that means related informations are starting. So for that reason, again we are having another option, that's SFD. It will be also 101010 and last 2 bit will be 11. So what will happen? Now my device can understand if I am finding the first, initially the preamble will be there. In preamble everything will be 101010 like that till 56 bits. After that again it's finding 6 bits of 101010. Then the first thing it's finding all bits are 1, like double 1 bit it's finding. Then my device will understand from here the original Ethernet header is starting, or original information of Ethernet header is starting. From where? From these 2 bits only it will understand. After that the source MAC field will become, and in source MAC field source address or source MAC field. Okay. So you know we are having 2 layers where some addresses are working. In internet layer or network layer, in layer 3 what I am telling, logical addressing is working there. We will discuss about that one also. And in layer 2 or data link layer, that physical address is working. Your device will have a physical address. That address is known as MAC address. It will be a size of how many bits? Total 48 bits. Okay. So total 48 bit MAC address will be there. It will be like, for example, if I am telling, it will be like A, B, C, D, E, F, then 1, 2, 3, 4, like this you will see. Okay. So the MAC address, it will be written in hexadecimal format. All the bits what you are going to find, all the digit of MAC address will be in hexadecimal format. So if it's a 48 bit, then divided by 4 if you are doing, then it will be of total 16 digit. Here we have written how many digit? We have written only 10 digit I think. So some other also will be there. Total 16 digit will be there. Not 16, it will be 12. Okay, 5, 6 like this. Total 12 bit, 12 digit will be there. All digit will be hexadecimal. So all digit will be in 4 bits. So all the devices will have a physical address. That address is known as media access control or MAC address. In short form we are telling MAC address. So now if we are telling about the what is the difference between logical address and MAC address, about logical address one topic we will discuss about that one, IP address, all the things will be there. If we are going to discuss about the physical address, then physical address is a fixed address. For every device, the manufacturer who is going to made that device, they will, like for your PC, one NIC card will be there. If you don't have idea about NIC card, then you know one Ethernet port is there on your PC. On your PC, on laptop, one Ethernet port is there where you are going to connect the Ethernet cable. The port is available on your NIC card, network interface card. Okay. Actually, the main work of NIC card is to connect your device with the internet, or to make connectivity with your device, with your network, or what you can understand like that. So all the devices are having a NIC card. On that NIC card, you will get one Ethernet port. The port which you are telling this is a Ethernet port. Here you are going to connect with a RJ45 connector, or what Ethernet cable if you are having, then you are going to connect with RJ45 connector. That port is assigned, or that NIC is assigned with a physical address that's known as the MAC address. If you want to change the address, you can't change the address. Also some application are there, third party application are there where you are going to change the MAC address. That's actually not changing the MAC address. For example, if I am telling your NIC is manufactured with a MAC address of ABC, and if you are using any third party application going to change it to 1234, then what will happen? Still your MAC address will be the same, but at the time of communication the device will attach the information of 1234 while sending the data. It will hide the information, the original information of your NIC. So you have to keep in mind, logical address of a device we can change that one. This is not fixed, like for a device we are going to fix that device, and logical addresses are not defined by the manufacturer, but physical address is defined by the manufacturer. Okay. If you are going to find on internet about all information about a MAC address, then also some parts are there you have to understand, like for company, their organization, by their organization they register some code, they are using that code, after that some address things are there, so many things you can find from internet. Okay, so you have to keep in mind right now that MAC address is a physical address. It only assigned by the manufacturer and we can't change that address. So at the layer 2 or data link layer, when we are talking about the communication in data link layer, the communication will happen by using this MAC address or physical address. How? What I am telling? This is my device which MAC address is A, you have to understand like that. This is another device which MAC address is B. So A is trying to communicate with B, then A have to send the data to B, and if B want to communicate with A, then B have to send the data to A. So here if A is going to send any communication or going to do any kind of communication with B on the basis of layer 2 address or on the basis of data link layer, then how the communication will happen? A, the MAC address, the physical address A will be the source address and the physical address B will be the destination address at data link layer. So here you can see two fields are there. This is the destination address and this is the source address. Okay, destination address will define the MAC address of the device to whom you are going to deliver the data or whom you are going to send the data. Source address will be the physical address of your own device. If your device is having a MAC address of A and you are going to communicate with B, then A will be your source address and B will be your destination address. So the two field you are getting here, destination address and source address, they are actually maintaining that destination MAC address and source MAC address. Then another field we are going to see here, that name is length. This is actually the header length. So this length field will define what it will define. It will define the size of your header. What is your header size? Okay. So if your header size by default, if you are going to use preamble and SFD, then your total header size will be 22 byte. Then here it will mention the length of your header is 22 byte. Okay, if you are not attaching any extra informations. And also here one part is missing here. So instead of a length, here the thing should be type field should be there. I think I got some wrong image from internet, that's why. So in Ethernet header might be somewhere you will find length will not be there, and you will get another option, that option is type field. It will be also of 2 bytes. Okay, so last day we have already discussed about that port number, then protocol number in IP header, port number in TCP header and UDP header. Then in case of Ethernet header, type field will define which protocol data has been encapsulated inside the Ethernet header. It defines which data. This type field, protocol field and port number field also you will get clear image after some time, when again I will discuss about the encapsulation and decapsulation process. Okay, just a second. My handwriting is not working here. Okay, now I think it will be okay. Okay, so the type field is going to define which kind of data has been encapsulated here. So see, which kind of data has been encapsulated here means what? Who joined right now? So if we are going to discuss, then in in encapsulation process, the data will be generated from the upper layers and it will come one by one step down to the lower layers till data link layer and to physical layer. So for example, if I am telling at layer 7 I am generating some HTTP data or any data. At layer 4 TCP is working here and attaching the TCP header. So this is the HTTP data. Here this is the data. After attaching the TCP header, it's becoming segment. At layer 3, to that segment I am going to attach IP header, or IP is attaching its header, then it's coming to layer 2. At layer 2, after attaching the IP header, it will be a packet. Over that packet, Ethernet is going to encapsulate that packet with its information, that Ethernet header. So now what type field actually will do, it will inform what at layer 3 or at upper layer the data has been encapsulated by IP. The data has been encapsulated by IP. So it will exactly, it will inform which upper layer protocol or which kind of data has been encapsulated in the Ethernet header. So here what you will get, if it's encapsulated by IP at layer 3, then at Ethernet layer the type field will be 0800. Okay, so if it's a ARP packet, then the type field will be 0806. If it's a IPv6 encapsulated packet, then the information will be 86DD. You have to keep in mind, whenever you are going to troubleshoot at Ethernet frame, if you are getting in type field 0800, that means at layer 3 IP is in use. If it's 806, then it's a ARP packet. If it's 86DD, then it's a IPv6 packet, which has been encapsulated inside the Ethernet header. So this is all about the Ethernet header. Then the data what has been generated by IP or what, that will be encapsulated here. The whole data will be here. So it's mentioned 46 to 1500 byte. Why they mention 46 to 1500 byte? See, for example, if you are going to tell something like, if you are generating some data, some kind of data, then the data will be generated from layer 7, and all the layer 7 protocols are there. Now minimum size of their header will be 6 bytes if they are not generating a single means data also. At least if you are generating 1 byte of data, or sorry, 1 bit of data, then also the header size, after attaching the header size, or at least the size will be 6 byte in application layer. Then when the data will come to transport layer, again TCP will attach its header. TCP header size will be, this is 6 byte from application layer or layer 7. At layer for TCP or UDP who are going to attach their header, in that case they will, if it's a TCP, it will attach 20 byte of information. Again it will come to layer 3. At layer 3 IP also attach minimum 20 byte of information. So the data size will be at least 46 bytes. Then according to the MTU, you know the by default MTU size is 1500 byte. So maximum data which is going to pass through that layer 3 will be 1500 byte. So for that reason the maximum size they mentioned 1500 byte. Then one more field we are having, frame check sequence or FCS, which is also known as trailer. So what will happen right now, this device is going to send some data to this device. Okay, this is my device A, this is my device B. So encapsulation process has been completed till layer 3, and also Ethernet header has been attached. So after that what will happen, before sending the data, if my device sending some kind of data, some size of data, and this device is not receiving that much, that means some data loss has been happened. In TCP and IP everywhere you found the checksum, what concept I told you, here the same concept is going to happen. Like for example, last day I given the same example, I am also telling the same to you. You sent 10 chocolates to me. If you are not mentioning anywhere how much chocolates you have given to me, then if I am receiving 8, I will think 8 chocolates I have received, 2 chocolate has been missed, but I don't know. But in case of data, if you are sending some messages to me, I am missing 2 lines of the message, then I will understand something else. The understanding of the message will be different. So if you are maintaining what or how much size of message you are sending to me, or how many chocolates you are sending to me, then clearly what you are sending 100% exactly I will receive that one. Here also the same thing will happen. After encapsulating the data with Ethernet header, what Ethernet will do? Ethernet will run a CRC algorithm, cyclic redundancy check. Okay, CRC algorithm, including the Ethernet header and data. Okay, including the both Ethernet header and data, it will run a CRC algorithm. It will get a value. That value will be in hexadecimal format. Total 8 hexa digit will be there. it will attach the value as a trailer, which is known as frame check sequence, FCS. Here it will mention this value. CRC algorithm, after running the algorithm, it will get a value. That value will be in hexadecimal format, and Ethernet will attach that value as a trailer. Okay, and it will send the information to the receiving device. And this device, B device, after receiving this whole data, it will also run a CRC algorithm for this Ethernet header and data, not for the FCS. Okay, and after running the CRC algorithm for this, it will also get a result like this CRC algorithm result, and it will match the result with this FCS value. If the result is same, then only it will accept. If the result is not same, it will discard the frame. It will think like something has been missed at the way, so it will discard. Like what? If, for example, if I am telling you are ordering something, like some number of fruits you are ordering, like you order total number of 100 mango, or you order total number of what? Total you can say 5 kilo of mango. So the guy who is sending to you, he is maintaining some information over that packet. What he is maintaining? You have ordered total 5 kilo of mango. 5 kilo of mango has been packed inside the packet, and total number of mango are 100. Like that he is maintaining, and he is sending to you. After receiving, the information he is maintaining there, after running a CRC algorithm, what he run? First of all, he checked the weight and he counted the mango. After checking the weight, he found 5 kilo, and after counting the mango, he got 100 number. That's the CRC algorithm result like this. What he got? He attached that information by a sticker as a trailer, okay, over that packet, and he sent that one to you. After receiving that one, you are also taking out that trailer information first. You are checking the trailer information, that 5 kilo mango and 100 total number of 100 mango you received, you should receive. Then you also started running the CRC algorithm by checking the weight and the number of mango you received. If it's coming same like that what he mentioned over that paper, if it's coming same, then you accept like, yeah, what I ordered, I received that one. If it's not same, then you will, what you will do, you will just revert it back to that guy, okay, and you will ask for a refund or what. Like this also our device are going to do by using this FCS field in case of Ethernet header. In each header you will find some checksum value for TCP also, for UDP also you will get, for IP also, and also for Ethernet header. So these are the total 4 headers which are most important to understand. One is TCP header, another one is UDP header, IP header, and next one is Ethernet header. So if you want a clear picture about these headers, so all the fields you have to keep in mind, and also you have to understand what field is working for what. Okay, so you can also find some books also, some CCNA books I already shared. Inside that book also you can get all the information about these headers, but you have to keep in mind what is the work of which field. So these are all about the headers. Okay, now a little bit we will discuss about some encapsulation and decapsulation process to make you more understand about the things like protocol number, port number, what kind of things are going to happen. So in this example, what I am telling, one device is A is a device, it's going to send some kind of data to B. Which data it's going to send? For example, you can say this A is going to send some data by using HTTP. Okay, for HTTP the port number will be 80. Okay, so A is going to send some data towards B, or some data request towards B. So you know that it's a HTTP, then what will happen, like for B it's google.com or something. I am not taking the name right now because you will get confused. This is IP address 8.8.8.8 and IP address of A is 10.1. Okay, so what will happen right now on A, if you want to send a HTTP request to another device, or you are going to send any kind of data by using HTTP, then you will open a browser. Okay, just a second. Class रे परे कथा होचे. Okay, so at layer 7, A is going to open one application, that some browser like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, anything will be there. He is going to enter the address 8.8.8.8 in the address bar. Once you are entering the address 8.8.8.8 and pressing that enter button, so what is going to happen? A is going to send a HTTP request. Hello. अरे टिके व्यस्त अच्छी मुझे क्लास रे अच्छी रख मु 2 घंटा पर कॉल करूँ. Okay, so what will happen right now at application layer? A will generate a HTTP request. HTTP will be called there by the original application, like I told you. So here HTTP will generate some data. This will be a HTTP data. What you are going to send? For example, I am telling one GET request you are going to send. You are requesting to open 8.8.8.8 by sending a GET request in HTTP. So HTTP generated one data, HTTP GET request data. That data will be sent. Here I am not going to discuss about the presentation layer and session layer, just because you know presentation and session layer, they are not in use by TCP IP model, but according to OSI they are there here. Okay, so directly I will discuss about the layer 4. At layer 4, as it's HTTP, so TCP will be there. Here what will happen? TCP will attach its information with the HTTP data. What TCP will attach? Okay, TCP will attach its header. In that header, source port will be there. That will be one random port, and destination port will be there. That will be 80. Which service you are going to request, and also one type. That port number and checksum field will be there. The checksum, after running the checksum value, it will also mention some checksum value in TCP. Also some other fields will be there, but I am not going to write them all here. Then the data it will call as segment right now. This layer 7 information will be encapsulated with TCP header. Then it will send to layer 3 towards IP. So at layer 3 or internet layer, IP will at network layer, IP will be in use. What IP will do right now? It will also attach its information. So this is whole the segment right now. With that segment, IP is going to attach its information. So here source IP will be there. Source IP will be 10.1 and destination IP will be there. Destination IP will be 8.8 to whom you are going to send the data. And also one protocol field, protocol number field will be there. The protocol number field will define which protocol has been used. At the after that, which protocol has been used, or upper layer which protocol has been used. So after layer 3, layer 4 will be there. So at layer 4 we are using TCP. So the protocol number of TCP will be 6. It will mention here 6. That means once you are opening this layer 3 packet, if the protocol number is 6, then it means after IP, TCP is in use. Also some checksum field will be there, TTL value, so many things will be there. Then after that layer 2, the data will send to Ethernet at layer 2. So at data link layer, Ethernet will attach the source MAC address, that will be A, and also it will attach the destination MAC address, that will be B, and one type field will be there. As at layer 3 we are using IP, so the type field will be 0x0800. Then it will come to layer 1, it will convert into bits, and as electric signal or anyhow, this will send towards B. Now the process I perform here from layer 7 to layer 1, you know, this is the encapsulation process. From upper layer to lower layer, all the activity I am going to do. I am just attaching the headers and encapsulating that one, encapsulating the data inside the header. That's the process my device is going to do. That process is known as encapsulation. Now B is going to receive the data. Once it's received, it will start the decapsulation process in the opposite way. What it will receive? First at layer 1 it will receive in bits, then it will send to layer 2. At layer 2 it will check all the informations like here source MAC is there, destination MAC is there. So source MAC is A and destination MAC is B, and type is 0x0800. So first of all it will check the destination MAC field. Why it is checking destination MAC field? It will check this packet, this frame is for me or not. To check that one, if it's for this for him or not, to confirm that one, it will check the destination MAC address field. Once it's getting the information B, So destination MAC is B, or and it will get to know what, that my MAC address also B. That means this frame is for me. It will accept that one. Then what it will do here also, while sending, it will also update some FCS value after running the CRC algorithm. It will also do all the things and will check the FCS value. If the value is same, first of all the FCS value will be checked. Okay, then it will check the destination MAC address. Then it will check the type field. From the type field it will get to know like IP is in use from this value 0800, and it will discard this all frame informations, and data will be here now. So it will open the data. Now it will hand over the data to IP. Why it's going to hand over the data to IP? Just because here the type field he is getting one value 0800. That means the data should be hand over to IP at layer 3. So now it's going to hand over the data in data to IP, and while handovering the data to IP, it will discard the frame informations right now, because all the information has been checked. Like if you are I am sending some information to you paper, after getting the information from the paper, you are just going to throw the paper, like that also it will go. Okay, so at layer 3 again so many information, the same information will be open: source IP, destination IP, that protocol field. Source IP is 10.1, destination IP is 8.8, and protocol is 6. So it will check the destination IP. Okay, here also it will check the checksum field. If the checksum is coming same, then it will accept, else it will not accept. Then it will check the destination IP. It's checking the destination IP is 8.8.8.8. So it will also check its IP address. His own IP address is 8.8.8.8. That means it will understand, yeah, the data what I am receiving, that's for me. Then it will check all the other fields in IP address and also that protocol field. Once checking the protocol field, it will get to know the protocol number is 6. Then it will get, yeah, this data is not for layer 3 or not for IP, this data is for TCP. So it will hand over the data to TCP. At layer 4, it will hand over the data to TCP, and while handovering, this will also discard the all layer 3 information right now. At TCP, there will be a source port number, destination port number, and checksum value. Source port number is one random port number, destination port number is 80, and some checksum value is there. It will check the checksum value. If the checksum value is same, it will accept. It will check the destination port number, and it found the destination port number is 80. Now what will happen? It will check 80 is running on my device or not. Is there any service for 80 number port for me or not? And it will get to know, yeah, web service is running. That means 80 number port is enabled on me, so I should accept. Then it will accept, and it will get to know from this destination port number, like this data should be handed over to HTTP protocol, because this is a web based service. So what it will do at layer 7, it will hand over the data to HTTP at application layer. So after receiving that one, HTTP get to know this is a GET request for what, 8.8.8.8. So now what HTTP will do, as you are running the web service, what web page you are having, in response, again the encapsulation process will start. B will send in a response for that web page. So this is the whole process. If you are going to type www.google.com or any web page you are going to request, this whole process, while you are entering the address, this encapsulation process your device is performing, and this decapsulation process that other end device is processing. Encapsulation process will be in this direction and decapsulation will be in the different direction. These all things are going to happen continuously. Okay, so continuously, if you are trying to access web pages, continuously these things are happening. For another page, like you are having one abcd.com, you open that one, first one get request sent, again you are opening abcd.com/about, then again one more request you have to send, and all the process will be happen like this. Not for only that HTTP, for all the services you are going to use, these kind of things are going to happen every time. Encapsulation and decapsulation process are going to happen. So why I am trying to tell you means morely about these things, because you know at the starting of OSI I told you all devices should follow some rules. So these are the exact rules for each and every layer. Some protocol are there, according to their rule only some informations are going to attach, and the encapsulation process of attaching the header and everything going to happen, and the device is going to send the data. So all the device who are trying to send data, they have to follow this kind of format. After following this kind of format, they are going to attach all information, and the data send receiving process is going to happen. Okay, so it's most important to understand the encapsulation and decapsulation process at all the layer, at least at transport layer, internet network layer, and the data link layer. If you are understanding them clearly, then you can understand the data flow also. Okay, so it's all about the OSI. Means I haven't discussed all the things about OSI also. I am just discussing the overview of OSI, some basic idea I am giving to you. I tried to give you. I hope you understood that one. If you are having any question or doubt, directly you can come to our group. There you can type, or else I have already shared one document with you. That document you can easily understand all the things. Then our next topic will be IP address. Just a second. Okay. So as just before few moments I told you that IP address is a logical address. We will discuss about this one right now. So two kind of address are there. One is logical, another one is physical. Logical address we are going to discuss about layer 3 we are using logical address, and layer 2 we are using physical address. So physical address, as I told you, we are not going to do any changes to this address. Okay, so I told you that manufacturer will attach one MAC address according to some rule regulation are there. According to that only your device will be assigned with a MAC address, that will be physical address, and you are not going to change that one. So we are no need to worry about physical address, that we already know with our device physical address will come. But about logical address we have to understand so many concepts, because logical address, what we are going to do actually, we can change the address, and which address we can use, what kind of address we can use, and how we can design our network according to the logical address things. So many things we have to understand, because this is a changeable thing. You know that for example, if I am telling 50 peoples are there inside a room, if I am going to discuss about the Aadhaar numbers, then all the peoples are having some different Aadhaar numbers. No one is going to have the same Aadhaar card number. But if I am telling about the names now, then you can also found two peoples are with same name Ram. You can found like that. So there could be a confusion if you are keeping two people's names same. Then it might be happen like sometime you want to send the data, or you are calling for another guy is responding to you. This kind of things can happen, which is known as conflict also. So in case of physical address, there will be no confliction, because all the devices are having some separate or some different address. But in case of logical address, it might be same. Two devices are having the same address, because you are just going to configure now. It's my wish, if I am going to configure my device with same IP address, also other people can do that one. So to avoid these kind of things, we have to follow certain kind of rules and regulations that made by INA. And also we have to follow some kind of features are there also for IP, we have to understand them, and also some kind of classes, groups are there, we have to also understand about them. Slowly we will understand all the things. So if we are going to discuss about the IP address, then at layer 3 you know one protocol is there, that's known as IP protocol. So in interview or generally if anyone going to ask you what is IP, then don't answer what is IP address, because you know if I am going to ask a question to 100 peoples like what is IP, 95% people will, or 95 to 98% people will give me an answer about IP address. This is a logical address. No, that's not right. If I am talking about IP, then IP is a layer 3 protocol. It's a routed protocol. Okay, in routing we will get to know what is routed and what is routing protocol. So IP is a routed protocol, or you can say IP is a layer 3 protocol which is working in network layer. So in IP, we need some logical address to make some source and destination. If I want to send some data to you, I should have a destination. If I don't know where you are staying, what is your address, how can I send a letter to you? It's not possible. So like that, in our network also, or over the internet also, you can understand, if one device is going to send some data to another device, there should be a destination. He should have some information about that device. So that information is known as the device logical address, or one kind of name of that device or address of that device, which we are calling IP address. So what is IP address right now? It is an address, or you can write logical address, that uniquely identify a digital device over the internet. Over the internet or over your network. So what kind of digital device will be there? That can be your PC, that can be your smartphone, that can be your tablet, that can be any device which is going to connect with internet or connect with your network. All the digital device who are going to connect with your network, they should have a logical address, and that address is known as IP address. Then how the address should be? What kind of address we are having? We are having total two type of IP, or two version of IP. First one is IP version 4, or generally IPv4. Another one is IP version 6 or IPv6. So what we are going to discuss about IP address right now, that will be totally for IPv4 only. There will be nothing like IPv6 right now we are going to discuss. Only IPv4 topic we are going to discuss about IP address. So IPv4 will be of total size of 4 bytes or 32 bits, you can understand. And IPv6 will be 16 byte of information or 128 bits. So the size of IP will be 32 bits in total, which equal to 4 bytes. So there will be nothing like one IP will be 24 bit of size, another IP will be 32 bit of size, not like that. Exactly the size of IP will be 32 bits. It means total 32 bit of informations. This will be total 32 bit. It might be 1011, what we are going to define the value. According to that, the binary format will be. So total 32 bit of information will be there for a IP address. But if we are talking about 32 bit of informations, then that information should be a notation kind of thing, or there should be a thing by which we can understand the IP address, or we can identify the IP address. Because you know the thing, if a number is starting with some 10 digit number is there, and starting with 9 or 8 or 7 or 6, what you are telling, so you can understand this number is a mobile number. Okay. So also some other rules are there, like if the number is something some 5 or 4 digit is there, you can understand this is a area code for telephone. Or if it's a 6 digit number, then you can understand like this is a pin code for my area. So like this also for IP, we are having some identification way how we can use the IP address, or how we can write the IP address actually exactly. So that is known as notation, IP notation. So if I am going to discuss about the IPv4 notation, then two kind of notation are there. First one is binary notation. Binary notation means what? All the 32 bit of IP address will be in binary format. It might be 101101101111 like that, anything till 32 bit. All value will be 1011 in 1 and 0. Binary means 1 and 0. So you know one thing, our device, all the digital device we are using, they can only understand the binary things. They are not having the capability to understand what decimal things like 1, 2, 3, 4 number you are writing, or ABCD what you are going to write. They will be unable to understand them. They can only able to understand 10 value. But what we are going to enter, what we are writing, one compiler kind of thing is there that's converting that one and sending to the processor, and processor is processing the 1010 binary value. So in IP also, to make my machine understand about the IP address, the value of IP address, the IP address will be in binary notation. But for me, if I am writing one IP address 1011 like 32-bit one number I have given to you in binary format, again another IP address I am giving to you, then it will be little bit hard for you to understand what is the address I am going to write. Because we peoples, we are not that much familiar with binary things, because we are going to write a small number also in decimal, that will be a large number in binary. We will unable to understand that one, or we will unable to detect that one also, and also it will be little hard to keep in our memory or in our mind. So another notation is there to make human to understand, that is dotted decimal notation. What is dotted decimal notation? We are going to use few dots, few decimal numbers in that notation. So for that reason, this is dotted decimal notation. For example, we are going to write IP address 192.168.1.1. This is totally in dotted decimal format. Okay. Generally we are going to enter the any IP address we are going to configure on our device, or we are getting those IP address are in dotted decimal format or dotted decimal notation. So in first I tell you what I told you, that the 32-bit IP address will be in binary format. But how the dotted decimal format is coming right now? How we are going to make this one as 32-bit? Some certain rules are there. What the rule is, in dotted decimal format, the total 32-bit IP address has been divided into 4 parts. Okay, that part is known as octet. This will be the first octet, this will be the second octet, this will be the third octet, this will be the fourth octet. So what happened right now? The 32-bit IP address has been divided into 4 octets or 4 parts. That part is known as octet. All the octet are size of 8 bits or 1 byte. This will also same, this will also same, this will also same. So right now what we are going to do, if I am talking about the first octet, then it will also have total 8 bit of size. In this 8 bit, if you are going to convert anything, that will be in binary format. But what we are going to write, that will be in decimal format. Decimal format means 1, 2, 3, 4, anything we can write, but at most up to 8 bits. So if I am going to talk about 8 bits, then you know total 8 bits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then you know in 8 bits means in networking it will start from 2 to the power 0 bit, 2 to the power 1 bit, 2 to the power 2 bit, 2 to the power 3 bit, 2 to the power 4, that 5, 6 and 2 to the power 7. Total this much bit will be there. So if I am keeping all the bit up, then the value will be all 0 in binary. So if I am keeping all the bit 0 in decimal also, the value will be 0. So that is the minimum value. If I am keeping all the bits value as 0, that will be the minimum value. And if I am putting all the binary bit as 0, in decimal also it will come as 0. And if I am keeping all the bit on, then that will be the max value. So what will be the max value? If I am keeping all the bit on, that means 2 to the power 0 will be 1, 2 to the power 1 will be 2, 2 to the power 2 will be 4, 2 to the power 3 will be 8, 2 to the power 4 will be 16, this will be 32, 64, 128. And as all the bits are on, I have to calculate all the value. After doing a addition, the value will be 255. So that's why all the octet can be ranged from 0 to 255. 0 to 255. Okay, all the octets can range from 0 to 255. The minimum value will be 0 and the maximum value will be 255. So how many IP address we are having? The minimum, the starting of IP address will be 0.0.0.0 and ending or the maximum IP address will be 255.255.255.255. So from 0.0.02 up to 255, 255, 255, 255, all are the IP address which we can use. So the IP address we are going to use like 192.168.1.1, that is in dotted decimal format, and any IP address you are getting, always you will find any octet, at any octet the value will be up to 255 only, not more than that. Never you will see any value like 256, 257 like that. 0 to 255 every octet range. Then we are having so many IP address right now. So I don't know the exact value. If you are going to count also, you can get so many number of IP address from 0.0.0.02 255, 255, 255, 255. So many IP address are there. So right now what happened? At the first class I discussed about type of communication. Which kind of communication we are having? We are having unicast communication, multicast, broadcast. This kind of communication mainly we are having in case of IPv4. So generally if we are going to talk about any communication, like one device is sending data to another device, that communication will be generally unicast communication. In some specific cases, if we have enabled any kind of multicast things, then the communication will be multicast communication, and in some cases the communication will be broadcast communication. If I want to do that kind of communication, then only I will generate this kind of communication, or else all the communication will be come under unicast communication, where one source is there, one destination is there. That means a unicast communication. So according to our usage, that IP address are also divided into classes. So many IP address are there. So there should be some rules and regulation, like which IP address I can use. If we are making all the IP address to be usable, then what will happen? Anyone can use any IP address. There will be no control over that. There will be no management control. So to make a control, some kind of rules are there. According to the rules, they divided the IP address into classes. So total we are having 5 classes. They started the class names from A to E, A, B, C, D, E, like that. So total 5 classes we are having: class A, class B, class C, D, and class E. So out of the 5 classes, for general purpose or for general unicast communication, class A, class B, and C are there. General use means what? If you are going to make a network for your company, or you are going to make a network for your home, or you are going to assign an IP address for your device, or what you are going to do, you have to use any IP address from these 3 classes. So from that class A, class B, class C, they defined these 3 classes for unicast communication. Class D will be for multicast communication, and class E will be for research and development. Let's discuss about class A first. Okay, if we are having a class A address, then the class A address will be used for a big organization. First, some overview, basic overview I will discuss, then we will discuss about the range and everything. So class A, if you are having a big organization which is having crores of users, then you can buy a class A network. Okay, not a class A IP address. You have to total by a class A network. Why network, not IP address? We will also discuss about that. So the range of class A IP address will be from 0 to 127, the first octet range. So how they define the range? Like for example, if I am telling one IP address 10.5.5.1, according to the first octet only, they made the IP address ranges. They defined some ranges of IP address according to the first octet range only. From here to here, this will be class A. From here to here, this will be class B. Like that they are defined. So any IP address you are finding which is starting with 0 to 127, that will be a class A IP address. Then next thing, if I am going to discuss about class B, then in case of class B, some medium size of organization if you are having, then you can use class B. That also for medium size organization, for unicast purpose you can use. So the range will be according to the first octet only. If it's from 128 to 191 first octet, then it will be a class A address. For example, if I am telling 130.1.1.1, so according to the first octet, if the value is from 128 to 191, then this is, you have to understand, this is a class B IP address. Then we are having class C for small networks, small organization networks. We have to use class C. The range will be from 192 to 223. The first octet, if you are finding any IP address which first octet comes from this range 192 to 223, then this will be a class C IP address. For example, 192.168.1.1. And if I am going to discuss about that class D, then it used for multicast communication. Okay, so the range will be from 224 to 239. If you are finding any IP address from starting first octet, which first octet is from this range, then this is a class D IP address. Then we are having another class E range. This will be used for research and development only, or R&D, research and development. The range will be from 240 to 255. This will be the range. So these are total 5 classes we are having of IP address. All the classes are having some specific use. Class A, class B, class C we are going to use for that unicast communication, means for your network. You are going to create a network, then you have to buy a class A, B or C according to your organization size. One IP network you have to buy. For multicast communication, if you are doing any kind of streaming service, you are going to do like streaming, that live streaming of TV channel or something, then in that case you have to buy one multicast IP address from class D. And for class A, class B, class C, you have to buy a IP network, but in class D you have to buy a IP address because there is no network in case of class D. And for class E, that is reserved for research and development uses, for some specific use only they are using that one. We have no access to use those kind of IP address. So in this case, if you are going to assign a IP address to your device, you can only assign from class A, B or C IP address. From this range only one IP address you can assign to your device. Now you will go a little bit deeper to understand how the ranges are coming, how the ranges they have defined. Like I told you, total IP size of 32 bit. So now you understood, like class A, class B, class C, they defined for unicast use, or for some size of organization or like that they divided into class, some classes. But how the ranges they have defined? Why the range is for class A? Why the range is from 0 to 127? Not like more than that. They should mention na, for class A it will be 0 to 50. For class B 51 to 100. Class C 101 to 150. Like that they could also mention. But why they mention like that? So the IP address what we are using, and it's class A, class B, class C. If you want to buy a IP address, then some organization are there all over the world. INA is a organization who is selling the IP address. If you want a public IP address, then you have to go to that INA, or you can request your ISP, internet service provider or service provider. Then that service provider will request INA to buy a IP address or IP network or range what you want. So now we will discuss a little bit more about the ranges. Again we will go to the class A. So how they made the ranges? You know, it's a class A IP address or class B IP address, class C IP address. How you will understand right now? You got little idea. I given you some ranges. If the IP address first octet is starting from 0 to 127, then you are going to understand this one is a class A IP. If it's starting from 128 to 191, then you are understanding it's a class B, because I told you and you have idea, like if the first octet, according to the, this rule is known as first octet rule. According to the first octet range only, if this number is coming, this is coming from that this class. You are understanding like that. But how my machine is understanding right now? Because our machine can only understand the binary things. So there is no ranges for binary. So how my machine will understand the thing from which class this IP address is belong to? So what they did actually, to get the range, they actually fix some bits. I am only going to discuss about the first octet, because all the IP address are having on the first octet, means there is a rule like first octet rule. According to that only we are going to divide the classes. So on the first octet, you know, total we are having 8 bits. So in case if it's a class A address, then the first bit will be always reserved with 0. Okay. So now how I am going to get the range? See, from the out of 8 bits, the first bit will always reserve with 0 in case of class A. So if I am going to find the range in binary, what will be the minimum value? Minimum value will be first bit will be 0, and all 7 bit if I am going to change to 0, then it will be the minimum value. What will be the maximum value? First bit is fixed with 0 or reserved with 0. We are not going to change that one, and all other bit if I am going to make them as 1 or 1 bit, then it will be the max value. So if I am going to count in decimal, this value it will be 0, and if I am going to convert this one into decimal, then the value will be 127. You can convert like this bit will be 2 to the power 0, this will be 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 5, and 2 to the power 6. 2 to the power 7 number bit is 0, so we are not going to use. If we are going to use them, then 2 to the power 6 will be 62 plus 32 plus that 16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. If you are adding the value as a sum, you will get the answer 127. So that's why the range of class A is from 0 to 127. If you are going to write any IP address, what we are going to write, like for example I am writing 10.1.1.1. What my device will do, first of all my device will check the first octet. So if I am going to convert the first octet value, the 10 into binary value, what it will come? 10 means it will come 1 0, all rest bit will be 0, because 1 octet is 8 bits. So if it's having 1 0 value, means total 10 value, it's in decimal format. If it's 1 0 or 10, then if you are going to convert that one into binary, that the value will be this one. So how my device will detect it's from class A or class B, class C? First octet, from the first octet it will check the first bit. On the first bit it's finding 0, that means it will understand this is a class A IP. So that's why you know na, on your device if you are going to assign a IP address, whenever you are typing one IP address, when you are not means after typing the IP address, it's automatically taking the subnet mask. How it's automatically taking the subnet mask? Once you enter this IP address on your device, by checking the first octet, from that first octet bits, device is checking the first bit. After checking the first bit, if it's finding 0, then it's understanding this IP address is a class A IP address. So I should assign the class A subnet mask to this IP address by default. So it will automatically assign you 255.0.0.0, which is the default subnet mask for that class A IP address. So this is the way how my device is actually understanding and giving you the default value of subnet mask. So in case of class A, the first bit will reserve with 0 and the default subnet mask will be 255.0.0.0. We will also discuss about subnet mask. So the range I already told you, the first octet range will be in decimal 0 to 127. The next thing, now we will discuss about some reserved things. So in case of class A, some IP address classes are, or some IP address networks are being reserved. 0.0.0.0 to 0.255.255.255. Okay, this much. It's been reserved for what? For default routing. Or by default, if your device is not assigned with any IP address, it will by default or assigned with this IP address 0.0.0.0. So from all the classes, from class A, class B, class C, for some specific purpose, some IP address or some some IP address or some IP networks are being already reserved for some specific use. So from 0.0.0.0 to this much has been reserved for default routing, and also we use this one for DHCP things also. And also my device, that NIC, if I am not configuring any IP address on that, by default it will assigned with this IP address. Whenever you are going to know about the exact concept of DHCP, packet flow of DHCP, you will understand your device is going to send a DHCP request by using this IP address as a source IP address. Then another also is there, 127, this network reserved for or reserved to check whether the TCP IP stack is working or not. So what is actually happening? You know that our device is having exactly, you know, the name as loopback on your device. If we are going to type this IP address 127.0.0.1, my device is giving a response. So that means one logical address is there, or loopback address is there on my NIC, which is 127, which is assigned with 127.0.0.1. For why? Just to check if my TCP IP stack is working or not. That means what? Exactly the network driver of my device is working or not. Means what? So you know, if we are having a NIC, that NIC is a physical part or physical component of my device, and you also know all the physical component our device is having. My operating system don't know about them. We need a driver install on our device to make my operating system understand about that, so that my operating system can understand this is a NIC, or this is a keyboard, or this is a mouse, and the device should work according to that. How my device is working? My operating system have idea about that device. My operating system is understanding that device, so that if any input I am giving using that component, my operating system is giving a response. That's why my keyboard is working. That's why my mouse is working. And that's why also my NIC is working. So as NIC is a physical component, we need a driver installed on my PC to make my PC understand what is this component. So that NIC, actually the driver we are going to install, that is known as TCP IP stack. That means what? We are going to give a capability to that NIC or to my PC to understand the flow of TCP IP, or to understand all the rules and regulation of TCP IP. What we understood here means, originally OSI is a reference model. Reference model means what? We are just referring to OSI, but we are implementing actually TCP IP model. On our PC, TCP IP model is installed, and my PC, whenever trying to send data, it's following to TCP IP model, but we are referring to OSI. That means what? For example, if I am telling you are going to make a cycle, so what you did? So first day you went to a cycle store, you check all the component of that cycle, you found like if I am going to connect two wheels like this, like that, then I can create a cycle. Then next day you came and you started building one cycle. So you followed one brand or one cycle you followed, that's a reference model. And what cycle you made, that one is the implemented model. Like that. Here also. So the NIC, whenever you are going to install that network driver on your NIC, automatically one logical interface will be created, that is known as loopback interface, and that will be installed with one IP address 127.0.0.1. Then why? What is the need of that? In case my NIC is working or not, to check that one only, they installed this loopback interface. See, other IP address what I am going to install, what I am going to configure, like 192.168.1.1 or something I am going to configure on my PC. I need to connect my device with a network cable. After that only I can assign any other IP address. But without a connection, if I want to check, then I can ping to that one 127.0.0.1, because on my NIC it's already installed, or that IP address already configured, so that I can get a response. That is known as localhost for Linux devices and loopback for Windows devices, you are telling. So this IP address range, all the IP address from 127 range are just predefined or reserved for those things, to check whether my TCP IP stack is working or not. That also not for all the devices, only on Windows devices you will get the response, not for all the devices. Then these are only two IP address range which octet 0 and 127, that are reserved. 0 is reserved for static routing, default routing, and some other things are also there. We are going to use that IP address, and another one is 127, which is reserved to check this one whether my TCP IP stack is working or not, or for loopback interfaces of Windows device. Then we are coming to the second class, that's class B. In class B also, they are having some reserve bit. For the first octet, if I am telling, I am having again 8 bits only. So for class B, the first 2 bit has been reserved with 1 and 0. First 2 bit has been reserved with 1 and 0. You are not going to change them. So if I am going to find the minimum value, then the minimum value will be 1, 0 will be fixed. Then the rest bit, if I am keeping all 0, then it will be the minimum value. And the maximum value, first 2 bit will be 1 and 0, that will be fixed, and all bit, if I am putting 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, then I am going to get the maximum value. So here, if I am going to get answer of this one in decimal, it will be 128 and it will be 191. So that's why the range of class B is from 128 to 191. If I am going to enter any IP address to my device, to my computer, then if my device is finding the first 2 bit as 1 and 0, if it's finding the first bit as 1, if the first bit is 0, then it will understand this is a class A IP address, it will not check all the bits. If it's finding the first bit as 1, then it will check the second bit, and it will find the second bit as 0, then it will understand this is a class B IP address. We can understand from this range from 128 to 191, and my device can understand from these 2 bits, and this is known as first octet rule. From the first octet, my machine is checking the first 2 bits and I am checking the range of decimal numbers. So the first 2 bits reserved with one zero, subnet mask will be 255.255.0.0. Anything else we written? Okay, so range I already told you, range will be from 128 to 191. So here also in class B some reserved address are there. So we are having one 169.254.0.02, 169.254.255, I think. Okay, just check on internet, are reserved for APIPA. Just let me check the range once. Okay, 255.254. 255.254. Okay. So this is the range they have reserved for APIPA. Also from somewhere you will get like 169.254.0.0 to 169.254.255.255. Also, so this range has been reserved for APIPA. In case of Microsoft, one feature is there named automatic private IP assigning. So if you are trying to access get IP address through DHCP on your Microsoft device, in case your DHCP server is getting fail to assign a IP address to you, your device will automatically assign with a IP address. So why Microsoft is offering this kind of feature, you know, if you are not having any idea of what IP address you are going to configure, like for example I am telling this is a switch or this is your network, 4 devices you have connected. Okay, so also understand that one, because I already faced one interview question for this also. So right now what is happening, you don't have any idea what IP address you want to configure. Okay, no one has given any IP address to you, and the next thing, you are also not having any DHCP server to get an IP address. But anyhow you want to make communication between these 4 devices. What you will do? So in case of Microsoft, one APIPA feature is there who is going to help you for this. You have to choose that automatic IP address assigning option for all the devices. Then what will happen? All the devices will try to search for a DHCP server, and you are not having any DHCP server, so all the devices are not going to assign with any IP address from DHCP. So after some time, when your device will get to know like we are not having any DHCP server, automatically the device will assign with a IP address, like this device will assign with 169.254.0.1 from this range, from APIPA range. This will assign with 169.254.0.2, 0.3, for example I am telling 0.4. All the devices, if you are choosing that automatic option, they will be assigned with a IP address from the APIPA range. Then after that, you have to check the IP address, which device assigned with which IP address, and you can do the communication. Now what I can do, if this device trying to send any data to this device, then what it can do? Okay, so this device directly can send data to 169.254.0.4, which is assigned to this this device. We can do. Okay, so this was actually an interview question, so which I faced. They asked me like, tell me any idea, like you haven't we haven't given any IP address to you, we are having few number of devices in our intranet. So anyhow, we are not having any DHCP server also. So you need to make a communication between all the devices. What step you will take? So definitely, if you are asking the same question to everyone, then the first answer you will give, I can use a private IP address. For all the devices, I can use a private IP network. Then if they are asking what is the next step, you are also don't know the private IP address what you are using, are going to use or something, or I don't want to use any private IP, then what you will do? Then that means the interviewer want an answer about EPIPA from you. And about that, if I am going to, this is class B, next we will go for class C. In class C also some, this is the first octet which is having total 8 bits. First 3 bits are reserved with 110. So if you are going to find the minimum value, first 3 bits are reserved with 110, rest 5 bit you are having. If you are keeping all the bit off bit, then this will be the minimum value, which will come 192 in decimal. The maximum value, first 3 bit we are reserved with 110, rest 5 bit we are keeping as 1 bit or 1, the value will come 223. So that's why the range of first octet for class C is 192 to 223. If your device, you are entering any IP address, the device will check the first bit, it's finding 1, then again it will check the second bit, again it's finding 1, then it will check the third bit. So device will get to know first 3 bit are means 110, that means this is a class C IP address. First 3 bits reserved with 110, and its subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and range I already told you 192 to 223. Okay, and for class C there is no reserved things are there. Nothing has been reserved for class C from class C range. If I am going to discuss about class D, then here also are first 4 bits reserved with 1110. So if I am going to find the minimum value, first 4 bit are 1110, I am having only 4 bit. If I am keeping all the bit as 0, the value will come 224. And if I am going to calculate the max value, then the first 4 bit reserved with 1110, rest all bit I am going to use as 1, so the value will be 239. And its subnet mask will be all 255. There will be no subnet mask, sorry. For class D, we are using these IP address as for multicast. So only for unicast communication subnet mask will be there. For class D there will be no subnet mask. And from that unicast address also some addresses are being reserved, like 224.0.0.1. This is reserved for all hosts, and 224.0.0.2, this is reserved for all routers. If I am not wrong, I can also check that one on my device. Okay. So this is the routing table of my device. So this is the IP address you can see, which is already assigned to your device, which is known as loopback IP address. So this is the broadcast IP, what is the broadcast IP and everything. In subnetting we will get to know. This is for EPIPA. So why you are getting, this is EPIPA, and this IP address has been assigned to my device. So I am having some other network adapter also, that's why it's showing. Let it. So you can see this 224 range. My device is already assigned with some IP address from 224 range, that is known as multicast IP. Okay, so here I am not finding that what 224.0.0.1. If I could find, then I could verify with you. Okay, so 224.0.0.1, if you are sending any message to this one, then all the host devices and host devices, they will be part of this one. So they will listen to the message, and in your network, if you are going to send any message to 224.0.0.2, then all the routers, they will listen to this multicast group, because they are already assigned with this IP address according to the rule. And for class E, the first 4 bit has been reserved with all 1. So the minimum value, if I am going to find, it will be 11110000, which will be 240. The maximum value will be 1111 and all 1, which will be 255. So 240 to 255 is the range. Okay. So if my machine is finding anything starting with 1111, then it will understand like this is a class E IP address. If my machine is and how you will understand? By looking on the first octet number, decimal number, you can understand from which class it's been. So for today it's enough. So if you are having any